One of the gifts of a regular mindfulness practice is that your mind learns to relax and focus while allowing distractions to just pass by. This result benefits all aspects of our lives, from personal to work to home, and even our connection with nature. Today, we're going to engage in a fun, bird-loving mindfulness exercise that will quickly tap you into the world of birds while quieting your mind and grounding your thoughts. Hey, bird lover, welcome to the Mindful Bird Sit. If you're new here, my name is Kristi, and I help people connect deeply to birds and nature while elevating their skills, boosting their confidence, and helping them to fall more in love with life. If that's something that you'd like to do, please consider subscribing and sticking around. You can also participate in any number of my online courses like Identify Any Bird Anywhere. All right, let's get started. That's great. All right, so for this morning, what we're going to do is it's going to be, I think, a really grounding practice, a quieting for our minds, our hearts, and I thought of this a couple weeks ago actually, and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I did it with you guys at some point. But it's something I like to sort of test myself with when I'm just out for a walk or a run. And what I'll do is I'll find one bird singing or calling. It could be anything, just as long as it's like doing it consistently. Usually that's more song-like. And so I'll find a bird singing, and then I'll do my best to stay with that song as I'm on my walk. So I'll see sort of how long I can make it before my mind wanders onto something else and I totally forget it. Even though my intention was to stay with that sound, you know, how long can I stay with that and then kind of go back to it? So I thought we would do that today, that we would do our best to find one sound. So it's going to be an ear-focused day, so you can open your windows if you need to, if you're in or outside, no, inside, and choose one sound. And I'll say, ideally, because this is a bird-focused meditation, that you can find a bird song. I know they're not always reliable. They might stop or move. But if you feel like it's a bird, let's say like a cardinal, for instance, if you feel like you've got like a cardinal in your yard and you think it's going to be relatively consistent, choose that bird. And then if it moves, you can try to like let your mind like follow it where it's going. And if it leaves, that's okay. Now, if you're someone that you're in an area right now where you think there's no way I'm going to have a bird sound, I'm not going to hear birds today, whether it's super windy or you're just inside and it's a really hard time to hear them, then choose an indoor sound. Like maybe it's a refrigerator, maybe it's a fan, maybe it's like the heater, something that's going to stay on as long as you can. Maybe it'll shut off for a minute and maybe it'll come back on. But I'd say do your best to start with a bird sound first, and just for practice and for fun. And then, then you can move to like a human-made sound if you'd like to. And also, if your bird stops singing partway through it and a new bird shows up to start singing, you can shift to that one. But do your best to see if you can stick with your bird. And you might even want to just give it a little bit, give it like a minute or two for it to come back. But what's good is that your mind's going to keep focus on listening for that sound. So even though it might be quiet or may have flown away, you're going to still be focused on listening for and finding that sound. So that would be the most ideal. Choose one bird sound, stick with it until the end. And if you can't, then you can make some adjustments along the way. But I'd say try your best to stick with one. Got it? All right, so let's get ourselves settled, make sure everything's good to go. Okay, let's take a nice deep breath in and let it go. You can just notice your posture right now. Just notice it first. It's always good for me. And I'm like, oh, geez, look at I'm not sitting the way I really want to be sitting. And then you can adjust after you take stock of it. It's a good, good idea to bring our minds to how we're sitting. And then as you're sitting up nice and tall now, you can choose to close your eyes or keep them open, whatever you prefer. And just allow your breath to fall into a nice natural rhythm. And allow your mind also to follow and track your breath. So as it comes in, follow it as it enters your body. Notice where it travels to. And then on the exhale, follow your breath as well. And we'll just stay doing that for a moment or two. Noticing if you want to soften or drop your shoulders a little bit, maybe they were uptight near your ears, you can just start to soften them. Noticing if your jaw or anything in your face might be clenched or tight, and just allow it to be soft right now. And you can check in with your belly. Do the same thing. See if your belly is tightened right now or if it's nice and soft. And then you can just check in with the rest of your body, like your hips and your knees, even your toes. Just see if there's any way that you can relax or release any of the tension that there might be, if there is any right now. And starting to connect with your ears first. So we'll stay still tapped into your body, noticing your breath as we do this. But start to listen first to the sounds that are closest to you. So maybe it's simply your breath that you're listening to. Can you hear anything else close to your body? Like maybe as you inhale, you might hear your jacket or sweater or shirt rise up. Maybe you hear the crinkling of the fabric. Each time relaxing and releasing any tension as you let go of your breath. And now bringing your awareness out, maybe about arm's distance or a bit further, maybe 2 arms lengths away from you. Checking in with the sounds that are in the circumference around your body. And also notice as you're doing your best to focus your attention on the sounds closest to your body, if there's any other sounds that are calling you to listen to them right now. And see if you can keep bringing yourself back to the sounds that we're focusing on in this moment. And now you can stretch a little bit further, maybe 3 or 4 body lengths away from you. And go ahead and scan the area all around you. So front, sides, and back. And now you can stretch your hearing out even further. Noticing what friends might be around you right now. Any voices that are familiar, any sounds that are familiar, any sounds that might be new. And then now go ahead and stretch to your fullest capacity of your hearing at this moment. How far can you listen out into the world? What's the vibe out there? Do you get a sense just by listening to the sounds of what's going on around you, both near and far? Good work. And now take a nice deep breath in, this time with the intention of smelling the air. Notice if there's any new scents on the air this morning. And then when you're ready, if your eyes were closed, you can gently open them. And then go ahead and focus on something that's anywhere from 10 to 20 feet away. Find a point to focus on. And then you're going to slowly let your eyes start to stretch. Your vision is going to expand and stretch in all directions, right and left, up and down. And then just start to allow yourself to perceive and pick up on any subtle motions or not so subtle motions. And if your vision starts to become blurry, that's perfect. Just let it get nice and soft, as if that is your job right now. You don't need to focus. You don't need to try so hard. You can just allow it to be soft. Good. And now just take stock of your posture and your body again, noticing and just comparing from when we first started to right now. Noticing what your posture's like, any of those areas that might have been tense, how are they feeling right now in this moment? And if you find that there's still some tension there, you can go ahead and bring your awareness, the awareness of your breath, to that place. So as if you could breathe from that area. Let's say it's your shoulder. Imagine that you're breathing in and out of your shoulder, and with each exhale, you're softening that tension. Good work. Okay, so now we'll shift into the practice part of this. And you can choose to keep your eyes open or closed, whichever one you prefer. Oftentimes, people find that when we're listening, it's a little bit easier to do with your eyes closed. Oftentimes, also, people find that when they're meditating, it's a bit easier for them with their eyes closed. So you can opt to do either one, whichever you're desiring this morning. And just let yourself take in all the sounds that you can hear right now. And then notice if there's one particular voice that's calling to you, that piques your curiosity, and that you feel like might stick around for a little longer than just a minute. And if it's absolutely quiet right now and there really is no one singing or talking, then you can either wait a couple more minutes for a voice to arise, or you can choose a human-made sound if you'd like. And then just do your best for the next little while to stay with that sound. So with every inhale and exhale, you can choose one of those. So as you inhale, you'll be listening for that sound, and exhale, just letting it go. On your inhale, you're going to be bringing your attention to that sound, and on your exhale, just letting go. And so we'll stay in silence this time, probably for a good 6 minutes or so. So it'll be a nice long stretch of silence. And just remember, each time, bring yourself back to that sound or the imagination of that sound, like you're waiting for that sound to appear again. All right, so we'll move into silence right now. Good work, everybody. So you can continue to stay with your sound. And if you can't hear it, if it's not there at the moment, do you remember what it sounded like and where it was calling from? Can you just imagine that sound out there right now? And again, with every inhale, you're listening to that sound, and exhale, just letting go. And we'll stay silent for another couple of minutes. Nice work, everybody. So we can take the next moment or two to offer gratitude to any of those ones that you connected with this morning. Maybe a blessing for them. All right, nice. Well, if you need to go, thanks for coming. It's good to see you. And if you want to stay for our chat, then please do. So, who would like to share from their experience this morning? What was that like for you? Anything arise by doing your best to listen? Yeah, Jackie, go for it.
Well, that was just so lovely.
Mm.
Just really wonderful. And it's real windy right now. And as I was doing this, at first there was a little break in the wind, and I could hear a bird over here and I was listening and thought that would be my bird. And then the wind picked up and they all went over here. And this was with my eyes closed. And I, as I was listening, I was aware of how the wind altered the sound. And then I realized it was an east wind, which we don't usually have much. And so just sitting here and being aware made me realize that. And then I swear it was like a Walt Disney Fantasia moment where it was like the notes coming out of the bird's mouths were were floating in the air and mixing up because of the wind, is what it seemed like. And it was so fun to have that happen. And then I started thinking, well, the east wind's blowing that way. Maybe some of the sound, I mean, I'm not seeing birds over here, but I wondered, well, maybe some of the sound's kind of getting blown in that direction, And so it was so fun to pick up on all of those things.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, Jackie. It is wild too what, only job was just to listen to a bird sound, right? But how much more comes into our awareness when we just focus on one aspect of the natural world? And it's really impressive that you were tapped into like not only which direction the wind was coming from, but also knowing that you don't usually get those winds this time of year. And we had the same thing just the other day. I was looking out my window and I noticed in the morning and I noticed the trees, the leaves were like blowing this direction. And I thought, that's a north wind. Like, we don't get north winds now. What's happening? And it got really cold for the next couple of days. And it was, in fact, I looked it up I was almost like not believing it. I'm just like, a north wind, like in the spring? That just seems weird. And it was a north wind. And my eyes weren't fooling me. But anyway, yeah, good job, Jackie. That's really beautiful to hear and also that fantasia moment of the sounds sort of like swirling around you in different ways and thinking of like what they might be connecting with, further east. Yeah, thank you. That's great. Yeah, Julia, please.
To continue about wind, this was an aside to the main, but the a lot of the trees have leafed out now, and it's windy today and gusty. And it's the first time in my life I have noticed that the sound of the wind is different with the leaves than before the trees leaf out. And so I was glad for that. as usual, the birds leave when we start this meditation. Now they're back. So, but I was focusing on the sound of my little streams. I have two, one on each side, and there was a lot of analogy for personal things there. I just love the sound of a babbling stream, and always have, even, kind of on a hike, you hear it and you think, oh, there's an excitement that you're getting toward a place along a river where there's this tumbling and so on. And so there was, I don't need to share more of that, but uh, uh, this was a really good day too. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Julia. I felt like I was there with you when you were describing the two little creeks, the streams moving on either side of you. And anyone else have that feeling of like when you're on a walk somewhere and you can hear like the babble of the brook somewhere in the distance, and it's just like, I want to go see it. I want to be close to it, you know? Yeah. What a wonderful thing. Thank you. Who else would like to share? Looks like Gabrielle's trying. Yeah, let me give you the button here. There you go.
Here we go. Well, that was really interesting. I had one bird right from the start, and it's still there. I can't see it, but I could still hear it, and it's somewhere over on this side. And then all this competition came in. And then I really had to be intentional to keep listening to that one. And he or she would sort of sing for a little bit and then stop and then sing for a little bit. And then it's trash day today. So I hear those loud trash trucks, and that was really annoying. And then some bird, oh, it just flew away. No, it's still here. I think it's a mockingbird, just kept going. What about me? What about me? It was really interesting. And then crows would come over, and it was just like a free for all. But I kept having to go back to the initial bird, and it's still here. So pretty cool.
Ah, sweet. I'm glad you had that challenge this morning because that's what was that like for you to keep bringing your mind back to the original singer?
Well, it's really interesting because the word that's been coming up for me in the last couple of days is, oh, and now there's a couple of geese flying over, is overwhelm.
Mm, mm.
What's going on in our world. And that kind of was the challenge, to not go into overwhelm and just to stay with that one who was very persistent.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was interesting. And I wanted to say to you, this was from last week. I missed last week, and I did the replay and got into the emotional part
Mm.
of listening. And I noticed that mourning doves really um, do a number on me emotionally. And they remind me of the time when I was just first going through my divorce, and there was just so much grief. And I always thought mourning doves were Morning, not Mour. So that I had this really interesting experience with the mourning doves kind of giving me the remembrance of grief. And then that was countered to more grief now. It was very interesting.
You know, it reminds me, I've told you guys, some of you guys this before, that years ago I worked with a man named Gilbert Walking Bull, who was a Lakota elder. He was around the Wilderness Awareness School when I was there, and I got to know him really well. And he told us, and this actually happened, I was there at his funeral. He died in South Dakota, and I happened to be living out in, where was I? Reno, Nevada at that time. And so I flew out to his funeral and was able to be there for it. And I remember him telling us about these women that I think they called them the whalers. And they were women who they didn't have to necessarily know the person, but they would be at every funeral in their tribe, and there was always the wailers present. And what they did is they would start wailing and just crying and crying and loudly too, and it would just start everybody else off to like open the gates for them to be able to release their grief. And they felt, I mean, it was sort of like a job in a sense, like a role that certain women held. And that their role was to go to to go to funerals and cry and help others release their grief. And so I think of the mourning doves in that way, that they're like the wailers, they're giving us that permission and invitation to grieve if we want to. Sometimes people hear the mourning doves and like, oh, it's so sweet, they're just not there. But if you're in that place in life, then you can hear that sound as as an invitation or permission to wail or to grieve yourself. That's
Wow,
so,
and that was
yeah.
exactly how it was for me during that time when I was going through my divorce. I
Mhm.
think for 6 months, I wailed with the mourning doves.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, what a powerful thing, Gabrielle. Thank you for sharing that. And well done also, like staying with your sound. And that's what meditation is, right? That's the practice of meditation, is to stay with one point, stay on focus. And it really does start to train our brains to relax, to quiet, and to be focused amidst the chaos, because that's just how life is forever. From the beginning of time, there's been stuff, and our people have known that we need practices to keep us focused, and every culture has their own practice for that. But the mindfulness one is a great one for us to keep us on point, and stay connected to that thing, that whatever our focus point is, whatever that element of importance for us is. There might be all the blah 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 that's happening in the world around us, but what do we care the most about? What do we want to give our attention to? So yeah, so that bird sound this morning was that practice for us. So thanks for sharing that, Gabrielle.
Yeah, and it's still going at it. So,
Great. I love that. That's awesome. Sweet. Who else would like to share? Kelly, please.
My dog's going to start barking because she wants to be in on the conversation. But um, I was following a house finch, and I often do this sitting here. I hear this house finch, and in my imagination, he's just going from one perch to another, establishing his territory. Because I can hear him moving, um, like just kind of all these different places. And so I just feel like he's saying, "This is my house. This is my home. Just here I am." And then he got quiet sometimes, and I wondered, maybe he's helping build a nest, or maybe he's grabbing some food for the missus on the nest or something like that. Because he'd get quiet for a minute or two and then get back at it. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks.
That's beautiful. I love, yeah, I think when we give our attention to the birds for that amount of time, you can start to like have those curiosities of just like, okay, he's singing, like, what is he doing now? Like what's happening in his world now? And just like giving ourselves that gift of that moment to just be in their world for a little bit, to just sort of wonder about their life and their world and have that thread of connection between us and them. Yeah. Really beautiful.
Beautiful.
How many times did he go around your neighborhood while you were sitting there?
Uh, 3 or 4.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
3 or 4.
that's awesome. It's like the moon revolving around
Yeah,
the earth or whatever, however it really
yeah.
happens. Yeah. That's
Uh,
awesome.
he's pretty persistent.
Yeah. This is mine, in case you were wondering. Let me tell you
Exactly.
again. That's great. Sweet. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks.
Anybody else want to tell their story? Yeah, Anne, please.
Well, I'm outside and the trees are full of grackles and red-winged blackbirds and finches. And I had to close my eyes because I was focusing on they're the golden yes, the goldfinches. And my husband calls them little yellow jelly beans this time of year because they are just but I had to close my eyes because there would be so much and there was so much sound that I would be drawn to the grackle or the red-winged blackbird, or even just the finches singing. And I was focusing on the meep call, the meep, meep, and wondering why the other finches were singing, but that one was talking. What was he? I think what he was saying is, she's only going to be here for an hour. She'll move away from the feeder in a minute. If we just have to wait, she'll leave. But I had to close my eyes because it was so helpful then, because you had to tune out the rest of the noise. Sometimes we deal well with a lot of noise going on, the dishwasher and the TV, and it's part of the atmosphere.
Right.
But today I wanted to focus on that one sound. Yeah. So I had to tune it out.
Yeah. Good job.
Close my eyes. Oh, and the smell, when you told us to smell the air. Yeah. Well, I think they're cleaning the barns out around here today. So
isn't it so appropriate in the moment? Now smell the air. And you're like,
take
no.
a deep breath. I don't think so.
No, I'm not going to do that today.
I'm not. Yeah, you're smelling it. You're tasting it. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Anne. That's great. That's great. Again, like good for you for, especially, I mean, like that's challenge, man, to have grackles and blackbirds and finches and everybody, and you chose to focus on a call, amidst all that. So well done. Well done on that. Yeah. Yeah, that is an accomplishment. Nice work. All right. Anne-Marie or Joy, would you guys like to tell? Yeah, Anne-Marie, go for it.
Great. Hopefully my internet will hold. Otherwise, I'll take away the video.
Okay.
But I was listening to my cardinal. He's in the holly bush behind me, and he was doing his kind of, right here, kind of call. And then I could hear other cardinals around the yard answering, and they were doing the same particular song, and that was neat. And then he'd sing, and then the others would kind of go around the yard. So that was really, really very cool to listen. And then he'd take a little pause, and I was like, okay, maybe he moved. No. Then he started back up again. So that was neat. And I have a lot of coming on their way. So.
A lot of what coming on the way?
Babies.
Babies. Oh, yeah. Great. We missed the baby word. Okay, good.
Well, I think the robins are working a little bit because the bird baths have been muddy.
Yeah.
So we'll get there.
Nice. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like sometimes like you and I had the same exact bird situations in our like where we're in, I can't say similar habitat. You're in Maryland, I'm in South Carolina, but it seems very similar with a lot of our birds. And I was also listening to the cardinal this morning, and I couldn't remember because it got quiet for a little while, and then I could hear it a little ways off, and I thought, oh, is that the cardinal? And I'm like, okay, so I'm like listening to it, and then I heard one closer, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Which one did I start with? Did I start with you or did I start with you? And I really couldn't remember like which one I had started with because it had been a while since I had heard it initially. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to choose the one that's further away and stick with that one. And but yeah, it's really interesting if you go out really early in the morning, and if you have like where we are, where Anne-Marie and myself, like we have a lot of cardinals near us. When I was in Connecticut, there was just like one or two, one and then his girl with him. But where I am here, there's just like, I mean, you walk anywhere in this neighborhood and you're going to see like 3, 4, 5 cardinals, just like in every little section of the neighborhood. They're all over. And so it's really fascinating, super early in the morning, like for the dawn chorus, to listen to one cardinal and then the next one and then the next one, and see like how they sort of imitate each other and how they change, and it flows and it fluctuates, and like which one is really different and unique and which ones are following the same sound pattern as the others, and when one changes do the others change. And yeah, you can get really trippy in that way of listening to their sounds, but it can be fun again just to kind of like let ourselves be in their world for a moment and sort of see like, oh, which one's like kind of in charge here, which one's like the conductor or the leader of the band. Yeah. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Joy, did you have anything you wanted to share this morning?
Sure, that was a lovely grounding practice. Thank you so much, Kristi. I really enjoyed it. I was focusing on the red-winged blackbird that's here, or there were several of them actually, of trying to pick out one to listen to, and it was there the entire time. So that was very fortunate there. Um, and I was trying to do actually the opposite of what Kelly was doing, and not try to think too much about, wonder about, well, why is he here? He should be over there by the pond is. That's where they usually are. And just focus on just the sound and try to bring myself into that. So I was able to do that to some extent, but not totally, but so back and forth a bit. But that was my objective this morning. And when we listened to this or smelt the air, it's been raining here this morning, which is why I'm inside. And but spring is coming. We still got a lot of snow on the ground, but you could smell that spring in the air. So sorry, Anne, no barn smells. It's just beautiful here. And
Oh,
then when I opened my eyes, there was a flock of about probably 15 or 20 dark-eyed juncos that just flew right by, all in a flock. And that was so nice to see, just as my eyes were opening. So
oh,
that was my experience this morning. Thank you very much.
wow. Yeah, that's well deserved on your part. I know it's been a long time coming for you to get a little bit of warmth and some rain and not snow. And yeah, is this the first sighting of the Juncos that you've had for the season?
No, they've been around for probably a week or so, but I haven't seen as many. There's just been one or two coming in the yard, but this was a whole flock of them, so it was lovely.
Yay. Aw. And just one other quick question about the Juncos, do you get a variety of their subspecies, or is it just one of the subspecies that you get there?
Just the one. They used to be called the slates.
This
What was it?
late backed, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. But now they're all put into one as the dark-eyed juncos. But it's the slate colored
Late
is the
bud.
ones
Okay.
they used to be called that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know maybe it's an eastern and a western things. I know out west there's like all different subspecies and you can see like it's like and you have to, I once made a chart for myself of like, I was like bill, wing bars, what else is it? Facial pattern, and maybe tail. I think tail was always no, maybe it was tail. I forget, but I made this like chart for myself to like be able to tell like who was who, and I had it memorized for a little while, and I've forgotten all the secrets now to it. But Kelly's probably become more masterful at that because yeah, out in like the Colorado area, you can get I think like 4 or 5 different subspecies. Do you know how many subspecies, Kelly, there are out there?
I have not ventured into that realm yet.
Yeah, that
No.
could. I bet that'll be fun. That could be fun for you, Jackie.
Yeah.
Do you have varieties of the different subspecies of uh, Junco?
Yes. Yeah, and there's about 4 or 5.
Or
Just
okay,
yeah, I think I'm trying to think about it in detail, but
yeah.
you know what's so fun about being with people from all over the country and world on this is I imagine like my Juncos left of Cub about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And I'm going, well, I wonder if they're on their way.
Yeah, at Joy's house.
Maybe they were at Joy's house, you know? And
Sending me a message from you, Jackie.
Yes. A warm message, a message from the sunny lands.
yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, just thinking like, right, Joy theirs just showed up about a week or so ago, and yours left about a week or so ago. That's so exciting. I love that beautiful connection. Yay. Ah, thanks everybody. What a sweet morning today. Yeah, thanks for sharing this practice with me and with all of us together. Oh, I did want to say that next week there's not going to be a bird set. I'm actually going to be moving next week. And so, yeah, so on the 21st, my lease is up. And so I'm going to be relocating myself. So I'm going to be a little busy that morning. Yeah, just like putting things in my car and whatnot. So we won't be doing a bird sit that day, but on the following week we will. Sound good? All right, yay. Good. So I'll see you guys all in 2 weeks for sure, and some of the rest of you I might see on Sunday. All right, take good care, everybody. Have a beautiful week.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.